Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Now, for 8 months, we've been doing 2 videos a day, so it's possibly not surprising that the puzzles begin to fade in the memory a bit. You can't remember quite what you've done. When I saw this puzzle and its rule set, which is very simply that each coloured cell is the sum of its neighbouring cells. And normal Sudoku rules apply. That's it. Neighbouring cells in this case doesn't mean the fully surrounding ones, just the orthogonally surrounding neighbours. I thought, haven't I done this before? So I had a look back. It's only a month. This is bizarre to me. It's only a month since I did David LG's version of exactly the same rule set. But in David's puzzle, there was 1 digit given in the puzzle, and I couldn't believe at that time that a puzzle had been created with that rule set and 1 given digit. Well, this one trumps that. There are no given digits, so hats off to Emre Kolotoglu for creating this. Sorry, I'm terrible, I have no doubt, at Turkish names. He could well be Emre Kolotoglu or Kolotoglu, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to attempt this puzzle today. No given digits, just, how many is it? 11 cells which sum their neighbours. It's unbelievable to me this is a puzzle. I'm really looking forward to it. But that's for in a moment. First of all, let's quickly mention the Patreon releases, where I think it's tomorrow we're going to be releasing Jurka van Veenendaal's Puzzle Hunt, which is approachable. You can trust me. You're not Simon. I'm not lying to you. It really is manageable. And it's going to be a really good workout for the brain. It may take a while because there's quite a few parts to the puzzle, but I think everybody is going to really enjoy having a go at that, especially those kids and teenagers. We're often asked for content for people's families, and this is it. It's going to be free on Patreon, though. And then, well, I don't know. I mean, I've begun testing the puzzle hunt that we hope to release in December. That is looking a bit more tricky. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. When I say I've begun testing, I've got a bit stuck, is what I mean. Anyway, that is for the future. Now, back to this puzzle then. Do have a go on the link below the video. As I say, the rule set is quite simply normal Sudoku rules, and the coloured cells add up their orthogonal neighbours. So this one will be the sum of those 3 cells. Unbelievable. Okay, so let's get cracking. I mean, where do we get cracking? I can't remember how I approached the last one. I looked it up. It was by David LG, who I barely know at all. I can't remember how we got started. This cell, for instance, must be adding these 3, and they all have to be different. Oh, okay. No, yeah. I mean, that means it has to be 6, 7, 8, or 9, but that's not all that helpful. Okay, there's 2 cells in the same row that have to add up at least 1 and 2 that way, and at least 1 and 2 that way. So in theory, a minimum of 6, but that can't apply to both, can it? What must be the sum of these cells around? Well, okay, the 2 that are in row 2 and row 4 have to be a minimum of 1 and 2 each. So that's 3 plus 3 is 6. The 4 that are in row 3 have to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 at a minimum. That is 10 more, 16. These 2 blue cells have to add up to at least 16, and obviously their maximum is 17. So they must be they were either 9, 7 or 9, 8. And they can't be 8, 7. One of them's a 9. And these cells, there is only 1 degree of freedom. This is, I think, the point. There's only 1 degree of freedom. If we make one of these a 7, one of the blue cells a 7, then we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 in row 3 and a pair of 1, 2s, which would be a fascinating X-wing in rows 2 and 4. If, on the other hand, we allow one of these pairs to be a 1, 3, then we would have to have 8 and 9 in the blue, 1, 2, 3, 4 in row 3. Or if we have a 5 in the sum somewhere in one of these cells, then these must be 1 and 2, and these must be 8 and 9. So there's only one degree of freedom. So, okay, I'm going to fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, in these ones, 3 is the maximum. So they must include a 1. I don't really know how to do the corner pencil marking. These must include 1, 2, and 3. And then 1 of either 4 or 5 as well. And if it's 5, that takes the degree of freedom. It doesn't tell me what this is. Well, it can't be 1, 2, or 3. And it can't be higher than 6, because these have to be at least 1 and 2. In fact, this one can't be a 1, because one of these has to be. This sort of X-wing definitely includes 2 1s. Okay, what does that do up here? Again, there is definitely a 1 used there, so this has to be 2 or 3 at least. Can it be 4? Initially you'd say why not, but it does look very constrained actually. If that was 4, these two can't add up to more than 5 to make this 9. Therefore, they'd have to all be below 5. That would give you a quintuple in the box of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there can only be 1 of 4 or 5 in these 3 because of the degree of freedom thing. So in fact, either 4 or 5 would have to be in there. Yes, it would have to go 4. If this was a 4, let's colour that, because that's what I'm thinking about. If that was a 4, we'd have to have 4 here and 1 here. That's the absolute minimum, because these can't involve both 4 and 5 here. That's right. So that would make one of them a 5. That would take away the degree of freedom. That 9 would force a 9 here. And we're saying this is a 4. That's how we're predicating this. I'll just add 4 to the mix there for now. 4, 4, 1. There's a 5 here. That's taken away the degree of freedom. So that's 9 as well as that. This is 7. The 1 has gone from here. So 1s are going to be there and there. These would have to both be 2s to make up that 9. Hang on. This doesn't work for some reason. It's not working. Why not? 4 there. 1 there. So 1 has gone. So those are all the 1s. We've used a 4. Now there's got to be a 5 here somewhere. Why am I saying it's on the 9? This is a 9. These two blue cells are 9s. That one has to be an 8 because the 5 is taking the degree of freedom. And the 1 has gone there. Yes, so that's why those are 1s. These have to be 2s opposite because the degree of freedom has gone. This has to now be 1, 2, 3, 5 with the 5 being in there. Surely the 5 has to be on the 9. The 5 can't be on the 8, or could it? If the 1 was there... maybe it does work. I thought something meant it didn't work there. It's very close to not working, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I cannot say that. Okay, so we have to leave 4 as a possibility there. Now, what about these two, though? Could they involve 6? That would be 2. And then 6 and 1 in these. That 2 would take away the degree of freedom again. So this would be 1 and 3. This would be 1 and 2. In fact, with 6 and 1, this would be the 2. 1 there, 1 there. The degree of freedom's gone, so this would have to be 9, 8. With a 6, that's the 9. Again, this is the 9. Those two and 9s. 2, 6, 1. Can't use the 5 anymore, so now we're using the 4. That's a 3, 1 pair. These two have to add up to 5. These two have to add up to 5 as well. Ah, again, it looks just possible. I can't quite rule it out. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong part of the grid or something. This must be where we have to get going. I mean, the 1 degree of freedom on these things feels so strong and solid as a problem potentially for everything. And surely how it works with this is vital. So if that's 9, as I suspect it is, then we have to add 9 there as well. 4, 4, 1. Oh, I can't rule anything out. How do we do this? Can we use that? This can't be a 1. So 4 is the maximum if it went 4, 4, 1 around a 9. That's not quite helpful. What about this pair there? I suppose these can't both be 4 and 5, can they? One of them has to be lower. Yeah, if I could say that there is not a 6 in these cells, that would be very helpful, because then I'd have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple, and I'd know that there's only room for 1, 4 or 5 there. There can't be both there, so there's one of them in there as well. So again, let's focus on trying to rule out 6 from one of these. If one of them was 6, this 2 has to be a 2, 1 pair. This has to be the 6, because that would be 2. This is in a row with definitely one other 1 in it. So that would be 6. So we'd have, so let's not highlight the 6. We'd have 2 there, 1 in all of those cells. 6 and 1. That 2 has taken away the degree of freedom. So this is a 3. This is a 2. 6, 1, 2. These have to be 3 and the higher number, 4 or 5. I've got a 1, 3 there, a 1, 2 there. This is 8 in fact now, because it's in a box with 9 and we've lost the degree of freedom. We've got a 1, 3 on it already, so that has to be 3, 1. And then we have to have 4 there and 2 there, and that 2 clashes with that 2. Good grief. Well, that's impossible, but it's a bit hard to see. Well, is there a simpler way of explaining that there's no 6 here? If there was a 6 here, it would have to be here. We'd have 2 there, 1 there. That 1 puts the 1 in this pair here and the 1 in this pair here. This becomes a 2 because we've lost the degree of freedom once we put the 2 there. So we've got 1, 2 here. This one is an 8 because that's a 9. So the maximum we can have on, well, in fact, these 2 cells add up to 5. And this one, there's a 2 there. No, there isn't. There's a 1 there. There's a 2 there. Oh, I've lost track of it. I'm sure that was right. I'm going to just write it in. Sorry, just so I can see it. If we had a 6 on this, it would be there. With 1 there, it would have to be like that. That would give us 1 here and 1 here. We've lost the degree of freedom by having to have a 3 there, 2 there. These are now 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 and 4 would have to be here. Yes, that's what I worked out. This would be the 9. This would be the 8. 4 and 1. That's the only place you can get the 1 in on this row. Oh, maybe that is the salient point. And then you have 3 here, and you're meant to have 2 here, but it clashes with that 2. Yeah, okay, so maybe the way of looking at that logically, without having to kind of bifurcate, is if you have a 6 here, you have to have a 1 on the blue cell, that has, i.e. one of its neighbours. So that has to be there. That gives you 1s here and here. Now where you're going to get your 1 in row 3, which has to be there, it has to be here. So you've got 2 1s on this number that is now less than 9, because that has to be a 9. So you can certainly use... Well, in fact, this is a 2, just as that is a 2. Oh, yeah, that's the point, is if you have a 6 on this, you have a 2 here and a 1 here. But you now also have a 1 here and a 2 here. And now you can't get both a 1 and a 2 into boxes 1 and 2. Or you can't get either of a 1 and 2 into boxes 1 and 2. And you can't put them both there, and you must have 2 in row 4. Okay, that's the way of looking at that logically. So there isn't a 6 surrounding this. Therefore, we do have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple. These other cells are 6, 7, 8, or 9. That's clear. Now, has that helped? Has that helped or has it not? Only one of these can be 4 or 5. So one of these must be 4 or 5. So we can forget this being 6. The absolute minimum now is 7, with 4 and 1 there and 2 there. Does this have to be... This can't be 1, because it's in a row with a definite 1 in one of those two. So these two are now a minimum of 4. I mean, there's no way they're that, though. In fact, they're not. 2 takes away the degree of freedom. And although it allows 1 and 3 here, it means this is 1 and 2. So that has to be 1 or 2 if that's a 2. In which case, the absolute minimum here is 4 and 1. Yeah, that's still possible. Okay. Oh, this is weirdly complex. Now, maybe I can get further and rule out the 4 again, because that would be nice. That would give me a triple. So how could this be a 4? A 4 there with a 4 here. That puts a 5 on here and takes away the degree of freedom in that way. So we've got a 9 here, a 9 here. A 1 has got used up here. So again, 1, 1, 1. Those are all 1s. 1 must be there to get on the run. 5 is used here. But 4, 4, 1 has meant that's a 9. So this is not a 9. So 5 can't be on it, because then it would have to be a minimum of 9. So the 5 is here with a 1. That's 6. 2, 1, 2, 5, 1. This has to be the 3. 3, 1, 1, 2 to make the 8. I think that still does work. Can I put 3 here if this is a 4? Yes, I can. So maybe 4, 4, 1 is actually right if it does work. That's so surprising, though. 4 there, 4 there, 1, 1, 1, 1. Those are all forced once that's a 1. If 4's on this, yes, we've used up the degree of freedom. So these are 2s. 3, 6. These have to be 9 and 8, and that one was the 9. So 8 here, 9 here. 1, 2, 4. That must be... Ah, no, this doesn't... Yeah, okay, I get it. Right. If we had 4 there, then we would need 4 and 1 here, because we can only use one of 4 or 5 there. Now, that becomes a problem, because that's made this a 9. Using the 4 here has put a 5 on here and taken away the degree of freedom. That makes this a 9 and this an 8. Now, the 1 here puts a 1 here. The degree of freedom loss puts a 2 here. It also puts a 1 here, because it's the only place in boxes in row 3 that a 1 can now go. And that would require a 4 here, which clashes with that 4 there. Wow, okay, that is complicated, but it works. And it proves that that's not a 4. Now that finally gives me this 1, 2, 3 triple, which I've been working extremely hard to achieve. Ah, now maybe I can take that further. We can't have both 4 and 5 in these cells. I think I've said that before. One of these has to be 4 and 5, so only one of these can be 4 or 5. Does this mean that this has to be 1? 2, 2, 4 or 5 actually allows that. No, that doesn't. Okay, let's use this 1, 2, 3 triple. This has become 4, 5 or 6. Can't be any higher because this has to add that and those two. Oh, now the minimum here is 1 and 4 or 2 and 3 to go with a 4, making a 9 here. Oh, I don't quite know how that has to work. Again, maybe I still need to do more on this pair here. If that was a 2, that would take away the degree of freedom. So then you'd have to be using a 4 here and a 5 on this pair. This can't be a 7 anymore. And if it's a 3, yeah, again, you have to use at least a 4. That can't be a 7 anymore. So it is now 8 or 9. Wow, this is hard one. I haven't still got a digit in the grid after 20 minutes. Plus, maybe there's something. If all of these are 1, 2, 3, there's definitely a 1 used. Can I rule 1 out of all these and definitely put it here? Maybe there is a way to do that. Gosh, I'm finding this tough. If that was a 2, I think this is very strained for some reason. That takes away the degree of freedom, so we have to use 4 there. So we'd have to use 5 on the 8 or 9. It could still be 2, 2, 5 though. If that was 2, 2, the 2 in row 3 would have to be here. That would make this a 9. This would be an 8. We've got a 2 there. This would be a 1, 2 pair because we've used the degree of freedom. This would become a 3. So we'd use 2 and 3. We'd have 4 and 1 going around this 9 with a 1 and 2. This would be the 4. And that works. Oh, hang on, this is simpler. Right. Does this work? If this gets constrained to being 1, 2 or 3, these two at a minimum have to be 4 and 5. That makes this a 9, which makes this an 8. No, that doesn't help. That's possible still. Oh, crumbs, Mark. Think about it. There's something still going on with these. It's just almost too much. Maybe that comes into it. This is so likely to be a 1. What if it's not a 1? Then you've got to use at least a 4 here. So if this is not a 1, the absolute minimum is 2 and 4. I don't know how that helps quite. Maybe it doesn't. That is very likely. So let's rethink this. I think I'd better think it out again, as Fagin says in Oliver. This is genius. I mean, how is this really going to yield a unique solution, even if you get through this bit? Incredible puzzle. Incredible. So let me think it through again. If that is 2, that uses the degree of freedom. That's a real problem, I feel. That means 1 and 3 there, 1 and 2 there. This has to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. What does that do, though? If that 2 forced a 1 here, that would be incredibly helpful. 3, one of these has to be a 4. So if that's a 3, yes, you can do 4 and 1 and make an 8. But is it likely? Then you're using 2, 3, and 5 here. But that's possible if you can use, say, 2 and 1 out there. Maybe the point is, yes, you're either using 2 2s there, in which case that's a 2. Oh yes, one of these is 4 or 5. Both of these can't be 4 or 5, so one of those is 4 or 5. So these two cannot be 4 or 5. Because we must use 1, 2, and 3 in those digits. Now there's a 1, 2, 3 triple in this box. Now I can put 4 and 5 there and finally get a digit in the grid. 9, 8. Oh my goodness, that's taken a while. Right, that's not 9, but one of these two has to be, so it has to be that one. Oh, the relief of getting something in. They're from 6, 7, and 8. That's not probably very helpful. Now, again, I mean, I'm sure I'm far, far, far from done, but at least I've moved now. Now if they're 9 and 8, this can't be any higher than 7. No, okay, that's not the thing to look at, obviously. This? No. No, okay, let's stay around the top. Keep going on these things. Surely that 9 is going to be helpful now. This is either 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. I haven't used up the degree of freedom yet. If that was a 7, though, that would do it. Then we'd have to have a 5 around the 2, because the 4 would have to be here because of the degree of freedom issue. So it would be 2, 5, 1. Yeah, yes, that won't work because the 2 would use another degree of freedom, as well as the 7 limiting those to including a 4 and no 5, which puts a 5 here. That would make that a 2, which would take another degree of freedom from that pair. So that can't be a 7, that's an 8. That's an 8-9 pair, because the one thing I know is that is not going to be an 8. Okay, so that's not 8 or 9, nor is that, because they're in the same box as an 8 and 9. Now those two aren't 8. That is all just by the by. I still have to resolve what go around these cells and this one. So surely the 5's going to go around, and it could be a 4, couldn't it? We still haven't used the degree of freedom. That's intriguing. So this 2 seemed to be a problem. It couldn't be 2, 5, 1. We just worked that out. But it could be 2, 2, 4, because that doesn't use the degree of freedom here. But the 2 here would use it, because it would make one of these two a 3. And you can't take one of those away and the 4 from here. So it's not 2, 2, 4. So 4 and 5 do not get used around this. Or, sorry, one of them must, but not both. Sorry, what am I saying? I'm saying it can't be 2, 2, 4. If it's 2, it doesn't work with a 5 and it doesn't work with a 4. So this has got to be 3. Oh no, this has got to be 1. That's what I'm saying, is it? If that's a 3, this is definitely 1 because one of these needs a 4. And if it's a 2, we can't avoid that being a 1. That is a 1. Right, that puts the 1s in the X-wing that we worked out at the beginning. Still haven't taken the degree of freedom away. Oh God, that 2 therefore either goes with a 5 here or the 3 goes with a 4. Yes, because we need to use one of those. Those don't include the 1. Right, we know where the 1 is in these 4 cells now because of the ones we've positioned. It's here. So that's not a 1, which was obvious anyway. So this, well, the trouble is these could both be both 2s, in which case you'd get a 3 here, or 2 and 3, in which case you would get a 2 here. Ah, but this can't be 4 anymore because it would be too many. So this one is the 4 or 5. That's a 2, 3 pair because they're in the same row. So this 5, 6 is a 2. Still haven't used up that degree of freedom. These add up to 7. Therefore, these add up to 7. Oh my God, this is probably totally obvious now, and I still am not seeing how to resolve. Oh, that's become a 3. That 2 has made that a 3. That's what's obvious. This now is a 4. That makes this a 5. That's the degree of freedom there. It's gone. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 2. That 4 has resolved the 5 and 4. Suddenly, finally, we're flowing along. This is a 3 to make up the row. So what's this? It can't be 3 or 4 anymore. If it was a 7, that would have a 4 next to it. If it was a 6, that would have a 3 next to it. It must be a 5. That's not the number I was expecting there. 4, 7, and 6. So those are, that's as far as we can get now. Right, this isn't an 8. That's not very helpful. What about this? Ah, this can't be a 2 anymore. The absolute minimum from these two is 7. So that's 8 or 9, and this is 1 or 2. Now, if it was a 1, these two would have a 2, 4 minimum. That's not that helpful. Oh, look, 2 and 2 there. Sudoku to the rescue. 2 can't go in a blue cell, so that's a 2, and this isn't. This is now 3, 5, or 6 based on... How did I decide this was 1, 3, or 4? Based on these being... Yeah, that can't be higher than 4, because that has to be at least 4. Yes, and it can't be 4 now, because we've got the 4 here. So it's 1 or 3. This is 3 or 5, and it can't be 5. So we've suddenly put in a 3 on a blue cell. And that's not 1. And it's now not 3 or 4. It must be 2. This can't be a 5, or it would make the wrong total. But it could be either a 4, 7, or a 6, 9 there. Right, what about this? Can't have a 1 on it. Ah, Can't have a 1 on it, so it's 2, 3, 4 making 9. And we can fill them in because we've got a 3 in the bottom row already. And that 9 fixes that as a 7. Oh, I'm loving this puzzle suddenly. Wow, it's really rocked my head. Okay, that is a minimum 6. So we know this is 6, 1, 2 surrounding a 9. That makes this a 1 and this a 4, and that still doesn't resolve the... Oh yes, it does. This has to be an 8. 3 there. Just got 1 blue cell left to finish. That's incredible suddenly. How can this be happening? That's not a 4. Right, let's have a look at this now. 2 there. This has to be 5 at least. So it's 5 or 6. This has to be no more than 1. So it has to be 1. This can't be 9. So all the blue cells are done. And in some ways, this is the most incredible part. How the heck is this going to give a unique solution when we've done all the blues? Well, let's hope Sudoku gets us there, but it's surprising. 5, 6, 2, 6, 3, 4, 1, 9. Oh, and that's a 7 because of the 5, 8 pair there. A naked single, finally, in this weird puzzle that has had nothing like what I'm used to. 3 and 4 there, yes. Oh, don't run dry now. Oh, look, that's a 3, 5 pair because we've got a 6, 7 pair in the column, and we have in this column 2. So this is 2, 4 and 8. This is the maddest naked single yet in the puzzle. That's a 4 because it can see 2, 1, 3, 8 in the row, 5 and 9 in the column, and a 6, 7 pair. So this is 6, 7 and 9. That's actually much more straightforward. That 7 is dealing with all the 6, 7 pairs in the grid, I imagine. 7 there, 6, 7. Well, not the ones in the middle, but everything else. Brilliant. This is 7 and 4. They're write-ins. That's not a 7. So in fact, the 7 here is finished. That's 5 or 9. This is a naked single 9. Oh my God, it's perfect. It is working. That 5 is sorting our last 2 pairs in boxes 3 and 9. 6 and 9. 2 and 4. What a magical puzzle. Thank you, Emre, for sending this. I have really enjoyed that. I mean, some of those deductions at the beginning, I assume that's probably where you have to start in this set of cells. They were very hard to make, and I hope I was clear enough in explaining how I was ruling out things, especially around this blue cell up here, but it was quite hard to see and quite hard to do. And then it's beautiful how it comes together after that. What a lovely creation. Hats off to you. I hope you got something out of that. I hope you tried the puzzle because that was intriguing. If you found a much more straightforward route through the beginning, do let me know in the comments, but I'd be surprised. I often am. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon on Cracking the Cryptic. Bye for now.